Hello, everyone, and welcome to New Consciousness Review. I'm Miriam Knight, and our guest today is Dr. Georgina Cannon, an award-winning consulting clinical hypnotist and a lecturer at the University of Toronto. Recognized as the public face of hypnosis in Canada, she is a respected member of the mainstream health community. Dr. Cannon is a frequent media guest, and her work and views have gained her prominence as a frequent source for news and feature articles on hypnosis and alternative therapies. Today we're going to discuss her new book, Return Again, How to Find Meaning in Your Past Lives and Your Interlives. Georgina, that's such an intriguing title. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm thrilled to be here. Yes, it's an intriguing title, and it's an intriguing process also.
Well, I actually know something about the process because my husband is a hypnotherapist, which made me particularly keen to speak with you. What is the place of hypnosis in Canada? Is it mainstream or alternative or kind of a bridging of the two?
Well, when I first started, which is now nearly 18 years ago, virtually no one knew about it, and I really was a pioneer, and I have to do a lot of education. That's when I met a lot of doctors in the medical profession, did grand rounds at hospitals. But since then, it's become more and more mainstream, and people are beginning to refer, the medical profession is beginning to refer, especially the nurses. Nurses are great, as you know. Mm-hmm. And it's becoming much more, people don't cross themselves when they hear you're a hypnotist, which is what they used to do.
Yes, indeed. Moving through a 20-year career, at what point did you start to focus on past life regressions?
Oh, within 2 years. It was almost immediate, yes. Because having grown up in England, I'd always known and believed and accepted that we are more than we seem. In England, we truly do believe there are fairies at the bottom of the garden and that there are ghosts and stuff like that. We take it for granted. So once I realized and understood in reading different books and papers that accessing the subconscious mind will allow you to access the superconscious, then I realized that was really good and looked for the best teacher I could find, and that was Henry Bolduc at the time. And bless his heart, he's passed over, but in just last year. Mm-hmm. But he was a superb teacher, and I never looked back. And I opened up a school and a clinic right away, and it grew and grew and grew like topsy. And since then, of course, I've studied with Michael Newton, learning about the interlife, life between lives. And so that's become part of the protocol as well. So that happened, I guess, about 6-7 years ago.
We have so much to cover in this interview. Let's start with past lives. Okay, mm-hmm. What exactly is a past life? Past
life really is, if you believe in reincarnation, it is the soul continuing its journey, albeit in different bodies. And each time you come into a different body and into a different lifetime, it's an opportunity for the soul to learn and grow and evolve. And become closer and closer to the original source of light, which is returning to God or returning to the isness or whatever you want to call it. And so it's an emotional, it's a growth that comes through spirit, through the soul. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. We call them past lives, but I know, certainly from my husband's practice, that people occasionally slip into a future life. So time is a kind of an interesting player in this constellation.
Well, time is very interesting, and those of us, and I'm sure your husband's one of them, that believes that there's no such thing as past and future, it's all now, just different dimensions. And the thing about a future life, of course, is because we have absolute free will, at this moment and time, that is your future. But in half an hour, when you changed your mind about something, and it could be something as simple as which direction you're going to school or going to work, then your future changes. Mm-hmm. So, going into a future life, we have to bear that in mind, that it can change within seconds.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, in past life regressions, people have actually come back with some verifiable information that can't really be explained through their own experience. Does this indicate to you that past lives are real?
Research has been done not only by myself and other practitioners, but also by research scientists, and by one doctor in particular who worked in India working with children, and he didn't even use hypnosis, he just used memory, and verified the journeys. In the work I did with the CBC, which was a 3-part television series, they arranged for 40 volunteers to come see me, and of that number, 90% of them went into a past life of some sort, and they chose 10 that they verified authentically through research, and then they chose the 3 that would make good television, one of whom went and spoke a different language, a language that she'd never learned in this lifetime.
That's so mind-boggling.
Yeah. They verified names and dates and addresses and everything.
Huh.
And it still goes on. I had someone who was on a merchant ship in the 1800s, sailing out of, or 1700s, sailing out of Spain, and was put on land and was told to settle the land with 10 other men, and the boat sort of sailed off. And he knew his name. And when he went home and he looked up the boat, looked up the ship, and he saw that he was on that list of people that were on that ship. Mm-hmm. You could call up this information. It's available.
Mm-hmm. Mm. So what's the point of doing a past life regression? How does it help clinically?
The point really is to enhance your current life, because this current life is the most important life we have at this moment, obviously. So any wisdom or understanding or insight that you can gain from that about patterns that you carry with yourself. Do you carry the pattern of a victim? Do you carry the pattern of being a bully? Do you carry the pattern of being emotionally distant? What are the patterns that you carry that you've brought into your current life? And the other thing that it helps with often, not always, but often, are fears and phobias and physical ailments. I personally released and got rid of my migraines through past life, and that was a real surprise. Mm-hmm. And I know people that I've helped with sore joints and back pains that can't be explained. But you certainly can't, and asthma is another big one. But you certainly can't promise. I mean, someone comes in and says, "Could you help me with my asthma?" Well, self-hypnosis help me. I say, I honestly don't know. Let's find out. Mm-hmm. It may come from an early life in this lifetime, or it may come from a lifetime before, or it may not come from anything that I can help them with. Everybody's different.
Yes, I think it's important for people to recognize that regression is a tool. And a person can regress to an incident in this life or an incident in a past life.
Absolutely. And I say to clients, it's like aspirin. It doesn't work for everybody. It mm-hmm. works for a lot of people, and for those people that it does work, it works at a deep, deep cellular level, that once it's done. But it doesn't work for everybody. And even if you don't believe in past lives, then maybe what you're doing is your mind is giving you a metaphor. And as long as it works, who cares what we call it?
Yeah. My husband had a young girl come to him who had tried to kill herself 3 or 4 times. Mm-hmm. She wasn't even out of high school. Mm-hmm. And when he did a regression, she went into a past life where her fiancé had been killed in a duel, mm-hmm. and she lived a wretched, unhappy life and died shortly thereafter. Mm-hmm. When he reframed it, and she changed the ending, which is so fascinating, so that he was only wounded. She nursed him back to health. They got married. They had children, and etc. Mm-hmm. And she never had an instance of depression after that. And she graduated college, and she's a happy, functioning human being. So it's incredibly powerful, this business.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's awe-inspiring, actually, and the same with the Interlives. It's totally awe-inspiring. Yeah, it's just, and every time a client takes a journey, literally the hair on the back of my neck stands up, because you're just amazed how brilliant we are. We're magnificent creatures. We have so many levels, both at the DNA and the spiritual. And we just are amazing. We're using like 1/10 of who we are, not only intellectually, but in every way.
And I think all the research coming out now shows the absolute power of our thoughts and our consciousness on our physical body.
Yes, indeed. Indeed, yeah.